Lubman with a shot. Rebound, Bobby Ryan scores!
It was an offensive explosion as the Anaheim Ducks offense erupted against the Minnesota Wild on Sunday night, scoring 6 goals and proving what everyone in Anaheim already knew, that they have one of the most dominant first lines in the league. The question is, will this team continue to produce? Hello everyone, I'm Tanya Lyon alongside Ducks beat writer Eric Stephens, and let's get right into this. Will this team make the playoffs?
I think it's a good question, Tanya, and right now it's a little early to say because I think this upcoming road trip, which they'll go back east for 5 games, will really tell whether they're going to be a pretender or a contender coming up going forward, in their run for the playoffs. They start with Washington, they go to New York, and then they finish the road trip with back-to-back contests in Buffalo and Boston. And I think really you're going to determine to see whether they're going to find that level of consistency which has escaped them thus far in the early going this season. Are they going to be able to develop upon this? Are they going to be able to move beyond this? They've won 2 in a row. Whether they're going to be able to now move forward, take some steps forward with this season, and really get a roll going.
Speaking of consistency, that is the big question here. I mean, they've won some, they've lost some, and then they've been unable to kind of keep those leads. So what do they need to do in order to find that?
Well, really, I mean, like a game like tonight against Minnesota, where they not only took a lead into the third period, but what was different this time rather than the last 3 games was that not only did they have that lead, but they built on it. They kept going, they kept skating, they put the pressure on the defense, they drew penalties. That's what they need to do in terms of not only building leads, but keep building that kind of confidence in their play. I mean, you saw a dominant performance by that big line tonight, which they're going to be leaned upon, very heavily. I mean, it's no secret that that group there is going to be the group that powers them and determines whether they're going to make the playoffs or not.
You mentioned this upcoming road trip. What needs to happen on this road trip? We all know they need to win games. Is there a magic number, and could this, make or break their season?
Well, I mean, I don't think it can make or break their season, but they have to come home with something that is respectable. I mean, there's 10 points that are going to be available. If they can at least win a couple of games on that, maybe get an extra point in a shootout or in overtime, at least come home with 5 or 6 points. And really not do anything to lose ground in that playoff race, because as we know, in the Western Conference, it's very tight. There are so many teams that are bunched together, and if you avoid that big losing streak, you can really stay in the race, and that's what the Ducks need to do. So far, they did have the 6-game losing streak early on. They've rebounded from that. If they can keep going, keep picking up wins here from there, keep the losing streaks to maybe 1 or 2 games, they'll be able to stay in the race.
You talked a little bit about that consistency. I think a big question with regard to consistency and getting wins is how healthy Teemu Selanne is going to be. Do you have an injury update? Do you know if he'll be back on this road trip?
Well, Randy Carlyle did inform the media that he will be on the road trip. It's going to be a question mark to see if he'll be able to play Wednesday night in Washington. They'll have a back-to-back game. They'll also play in New York on Thursday. I think it'll be fair to say that you'll see Teemu on the road sometime during this trip, but the question is not whether whether he'll be back. It's whether he'll be able to play and whether he can stay in the lineup, because that groin injury, it's a very troublesome injury. It's a very nagging injury in that as soon as you start feeling better whatsoever and you test it and you get into action, that's really when you determine whether you're 100% or not at 100%, because it's so easy to re-injure, and that's what's happened in the last 2 weeks, to where he's been knocked out of the lineup a couple times.
Something really attractive for the Ducks is the return of Joffrey Lupul. What have you seen? What do you think of his play so far?
Well, I think so far it's not surprising that it's been a slow road back for Joffrey. Let's remember that he did not play for almost a full calendar year. And I mean, that's a full calendar year without an NHL game, without activity, without being at game speed, and I think it's taken some time for him to get back to that. I think with each game he has progressively gotten better, and I think that you're going to see better things from him going forward as he works himself back into shape.
And we are closing in on the halfway mark of the season. Do you expect Bob Murray to make any moves, and if so, where can we look for an upgrade?
Well, I think you will see him make some moves at some point. Right now they're carrying 8 defensemen. Which, that's not the ideal scenario, but I think, the defense is something that they're still going to continue to look at upgrading. You'll probably see maybe one of those guys at some point being moved out. Where exactly they'll upgrade remains to be seen. They could use some more scoring on the third and fourth lines. I think those are the areas that they're going to target to be able to create a better balance, because right now, even though that top line it can be so dominant on some nights, they're going to need somebody to support them on those nights when they're not clicking. So I think that's where Bob is probably targeting as far as the defense and that third and fourth line in terms of upgrading.
Well, that's it for now. We'll be checking in with Eric Stephens throughout the season. So if you have a question, feel free to email them to us and we'll get back to you with some of those answers. For Eric Stephens and myself, thanks for watching.